This is my wife, Carrie. We're here to talk about her passion today. What is your passion?
Teaching has always, since I was younger, been my passion, and I suppose you could say it currently is, but after 26 years of teaching, it has its, tough points to it, so.
What are some specific frustrations?
Other than dealing with adolescent children who, don't necessarily know enough to react emotionally in certain ways, so they act out, often inappropriately.
When the students act out inappropriately, it makes you frustrated?
Yes, it does. And there are procedures that the administration put into place, but they're often disconnected from what the students are actually going through because they don't see or what goes on in the classroom, so that becomes difficult to get them comfortable and back on track.
So what concerns you is the actions of the administrators that don't work.
Yeah, the administrators who don't work in the classroom and so don't see necessarily the policies they prescribe won't necessarily work for this kid or the same kid or every kid in the same way. So that's frustrating.
So what's important to you is getting help from administrators that would work with each individual kid.
Yeah, administrators. We have way too many students per guidance counselor. I wish there were more that they could work one-on-one or in care groups for those who have school-related anxiety disorder.
So you're concerned about the number of counselors per student?
Yeah, I think the counselors can get easily overwhelmed with the amount of students that are assigned to them.
Okay. Have these problems over the years been expected or unexpected, like when you first started?
Not expected. When you start teaching when you're 22, 23, it's you don't know. And as you get older and you've been doing this for now 26 years, it's not so surprising. It's more frustrating. One would think that they would have learned by now, but they don't seem to have, changed, even though they've seen issues with students grow in the last couple decades. I think their high anxiety with students has become, I think, much more prevalent, and they just should be dealing with it more adequately, I think.
So you think that the administrators should be dealing with the high anxiety of students more?
Yeah, it's one of the issues that, like I said, they just do the same policy, the same program for a student that might fall within this area, but they're not trained and they're not in the classroom, so they don't know. And you have only so many counselors to take care of them, so it's disappointing that there's not more counselors or that the admin are not more prepared to deal with this.
Is there anything you can do to be helpful?
I try, having had some familiarity with students who have this, having had so many over the years, and asking professionals for help, what I can do in place of a professional being in my classroom. I try and work with them, be understanding, follow policy, but also be very good at listening, because I don't think, like I'd said, the same thing works for everybody. And even though I had 5 students in one class suffer from what was termed school-related anxiety, and they were in and out of school for a good 3-4 months, each one of the students acted differently to their stress, and so you had to look for ways to help them in the classroom when a counselor wasn't there.
So what concerns you is the number of counselors?
Yeah, I wish there were more.
What are some small parts of your passion? Some specific things that make you happy?
Oh, that make me happy? When former students come to visit, or when a a kid gets something. I teach primarily juniors and seniors, so they're not the very excited ones all the time, but if they get something and they're excited, that's cool. And last year at the end of the year, I had one student who was out for the anxiety and hospitalized, and when she came back, I worked with her, and her mom sent me a lovely gift at the end of the year, but also said thanks for keeping her calm and telling her it's okay and just helping her feel less stressed out. As I teach AP language and composition, kids tend to get stressed out a little bit.
And how has your passion been helped or harmed by the people around you?
Like I said, you often have admin unfamiliar with the classroom environment. They've either not been in the classroom in 20 years or have never been in the classroom. So that's frustrating. That hurts because, again, they try to put in place policies that aren't really useful.
So it's frustrating when admins put policies.
Oh, yeah. Frustrating for admin to put policies into play that you as a teacher in that classroom know it's not going to work. And then maybe, colleagues who aren't as given to help and search for ideas and kind of, don't see it, certain things as real issues, and they can get a little lax with their practice, to put it nicely.
I know specifically that you haven't gotten along with Fernstrom. It's okay. No one's going to know her name on this tape.
How do you know that? There is a teacher that I haven't gotten along with, and so it is frustrating with this teacher who lacks empathy. If she does not like her coworkers, it becomes very obvious, and then she makes it much more problematic to try and deal with your classes. Sometimes students get that vibe, and when they come into the classroom now, you're working against somebody else's just catty perceptions, and it's another layer of annoyance I don't need.
So what concerns you is when you're working against the other teacher who's maybe poisoning the students' minds?
A little bit. I don't try and consciously work against her, and I don't talk about said person in class. I don't engage with students about that. I think that's more behavior of somebody who's in high school than somebody who teaches high school, but it does get frustrating when you hear students say, they heard from so-and-so, or even teachers have said they've heard things that are wholly untrue, and it just makes the job more difficult. And it's petty, and I don't understand the need for it because we have kids to worry about.
So it's frustrating when that gossip happens.
Yes, gossip is unfortunately something that doesn't stick to those who are much younger. Some who are older kind of still operate that way.
What about young teachers that have maybe helped you?
Oh, it's always nice to have young teachers because, you can get very, some people get very frustrated and get very negative because they've seen problems come and go, and they have the understanding that, very, very few admin in some cases will help, but, new people are bright-eyed and cheery and just willing to try everything and anything, so it's nice to have those who aren't jaded by 26 years or so of issues, some of which continue to go unresolved.
So you needed a little bit of energy.
Yes, they do bring energy.
From the young teachers.
Yes, the young teachers bring energy because, again, they're operating fresh slate. They go into it just not knowing anything but, what they've been trained to do. So they can sometimes be a bit more open-minded and less cynical.
Do you want to talk about a specific problem that you had with a specific teacher?
Sure. One specific teacher, when I was having a tough emotional time for personal reasons, chose to, instead of offering, either condolences or showing some sort of empathy, actually made a joke out of it. And that was highly inappropriate and unforgivably rude.
So when she made a joke about it, made you angry?
Yes, when she made a joke about the pain, I don't know, out of nervousness, but I suspect more she just didn't care. And it's hard enough to operate as a teacher when you're going through something that you can't bring into the classroom, and to have coworkers kind of laugh it off or think it's funny. It's not even mildly annoying. It's rude and painful.
How did you react?
Professionally, but it's something I have a hard time forgetting. So I go ahead and I, work with said person, but that lack of empathy and kindness is something that is really hard to forget. So I just keep working.
Are there some other specifics?
Like other specific instances or about others?
Instances.
It's unusual that they all seem to evolve around this person.
Well, you can.
No. There was a former administrator who, unsure of their own kind of practice because they had only been in the field for less than 5 years, and I had been in for over 20. And when I questioned their desire to do something specific with the course, and I questioned it, and apparently in front of somebody that they fancied, which was wholly unprofessional, they got embarrassed and then took it out on me by trying to find any way to frustrate me or, I guess embarrass me. But
So when you said something, when you corrected them,
yes,
they reacted.
they walked away and locked themselves in their office
Oh, I see.
about 5 feet away. And it came out later that this person did so because they were embarrassed that I questioned something they had suggested in front of a person that they liked. They felt it made them look stupid.
So it concerns you when people react in that way.
Yeah, an administrator who acts unprofessionally. Yes. I smiled and kept doing my job because that's what we're there to do. Not interact in a shady way with those who we are in charge of.
What other specific instances?
Let's see. I think I had another admin, again, similar in terms of lack of experience, and so they were obviously struggling as an administrator to kind of corral the people under them, and I was trying to help them, and this person was going through personal issues at the same time, so they're obviously very frustrated, and this was somebody who was a friend before they became an administrator, and I tried to, go out of my way to, make sure she was doing okay, ask her if I could help in any way, and for whatever reason that was never explained to me, she just got really frustrated and kind of took it out on me because I was the one who was always trying to help her and make myself available to her, and everybody else was going about their own job. But I see somebody in pain that needs help, I want to help them if I can, and I was trying to, but I was, I think, in the wrong place at the wrong time. She just got frustrated, lashed out at me, and then that was not fun.
So when she lashed out at you, it made you feel?
It made me feel angry because
Angry.
I was telling her this is what I'm doing to try and help you out, even though, in this particular instance, we were asked as a staff to do something, which was not exactly what she asked us, but I found my group had time to do both, and they didn't go against each other, but there was just really no time necessarily to do both. But I found time, and then I showed her, I'm like, hey, even though we were told to do this one thing, we did it, I said, but I found time and got people to work a little extra on it, and we did this for you, and she like flipped out because something else in her life was going personally, and I happened to be there when she wanted to kind of let out her anger. So
How could you have reacted differently? Would it have been helpful?
I didn't react in yelling and frustration. I noticed she was obviously flipping out for something other than what I said, so I just kind of walked away until she was able to kind of regain composure, and then she acted as if it never happened, which was unusual, and that was just kind of the start of her just acting really weirdly, poorly, but then she got fired in a year after that. So
What are some other small parts of your passion?
let's see. Small parts of my passion. I figure if I laugh, that's like the most important, so I make my students laugh, and I think they like that, I'm not serious all the time. I can relax and joke and laugh, and I am a human, I am a person. I'm not just an automaton teacher sitting at the front of the classroom. So that's a small thing to do, is just find ways to laugh and joke. Make light of things.
What's another small part of your passion?
Learning new things, technology-wise especially. So that's kind of cool, and if the kids can help me with certain elements of technology I try to incorporate, that makes it even more interesting, more fun, more beneficial for both of us, because then they feel like they're helping me. If anybody's used a computer program that they didn't know how to use and had to have a young person help them, they would understand.
It's empowering when a student helps you?
Yeah, for something like that, it's empowering, I think, for them, but it's also nice for me to be able to kind of show that, I'm not perfect and they can help me out in some ways.
Can you think of any other parts of your passion?
It's other people I work with, like just when you work with people who are going through similar things, having that kind of, like, I want to say group therapy. Everybody can kind of recognize the fact that they too are going through similar issues, so you don't feel alone or by yourself. So it's nice to have that. Some years there's more people that, are willing to come together, and other years there's people who kind of stay in their offices or their classrooms. So it's nice to have that social aspect with other faculty members.
So when you have a social aspect with others, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, more welcome, like you have friends. Students aren't the only ones who feel like they are social in the building. One doesn't want to go into a school and go straight to your office. You want to be able to, talk to people and have some friendships there. It makes the day easier, nicer, more pleasant.
Do you feel like you have a lot of friendships now in the office?
More so as newer people come in. They seem more open and friendly and interesting, and they are willing to work hard. And I'm part of the mentor program at my district, so I often get assigned as a mentor teacher to some of the newer people in my department, so I get to know them a little bit better, and we do a lot of sessions about, what it's like to teach and what areas they need help in.
So it's, when you mentor, it makes you feel positive?
Yeah, it makes me feel helpful, like I'm doing something not just, curriculum based, but, being supportive and acting as like a leader or a guide to somebody who, needs that help. You get that, you just feel helpful in a non-totally academic classroom way. Kind of like what I do with the students to make them feel better in class. I try and show the teachers, the new teachers, that not everything can be perfect, and how do you deal with things when they don't go your way.
So what concerns you is teaching young teachers that they can surmount obstacles in the classroom when things don't always go their way.
Exactly, because teaching sometimes the first 3 years, there's a lot of turnover, so I'd like to, kind of help them out, make them realize they're not alone in some of the frustrations they feel, but also give, my years of experience, tell them how they can deal with certain things in ways maybe they did not know and understand, because teaching classes can only go so far. Teaching classes don't prepare you for what actually necessarily happens in the classroom. So, my experience can help them in that way, kind of be like, hey, it's all good. We went through this too. Here's some different things maybe you didn't think of. So that's nice. You can feel helpful.
Okay. Can you think of some other negative things that have happened?
When you work hard, I've been after this many years on curriculum committees, and when you work that hard to create something that you think is an advantage to the students and easily approachable for the teachers, and then the next year they start doing things over again. And so without, explaining to you what or why they want to change things, they just change things. And so it's kind of frustrating because, you work hard for many months to create something, and then all of a sudden they change it without.
So it's frustrating when they change it.
Yes.
Without warning.
Without warning, without explanation. It's just, now we're doing this. I'm like, okay. Why did I work 4 or 5 months developing a curriculum for something now that you just changed? You'd think they'd know a little bit more ahead of time that they want to change things, but I like organization. Sometimes the disorganization of admin becomes frustrating.
Have you ever thought about becoming an admin yourself?
No way. Not at all. I think it would be frustrating because you don't get to be in the classroom. And when you get taken out of the classroom, you become separated from the reality of what, teachers do every day. And I think that just would frustrate me. I like being with the students. I don't want to sit in a cubicle in an office.
So what concerns you is keeping in touch with the students?
Yes, and when you go into admin, often you don't keep in touch with students, and so you don't get to know them anymore. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what is best for them. You can only just go by data. I don't like when they analyze data because they just manipulate it sometimes to suit a personal program or an idea, which, again, if they go into the classrooms and see things in practice, they'll realize that, the data they're collecting doesn't necessarily always mean what they think it means. They need to have that interpersonal kind of connection.
Okay. So are there any questions that you can think of?
How would you advise somebody who has had a passion for a long time when they get frustrated? How would you advise them to kind of turn that frustration around? What outlets for their frustration would you think is a way to kind of help them focus or center themselves again?
Meditation.
That is a good one. A lot of people meditate. They find that kind of soothing, especially for a mind like mine that's always running. I should learn to meditate. I wish they had a meditation room in my school. That would be so good.
Have you had any friendships that have lasted all the years you've been at Streamwood?
Do you have to tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple people who've been teaching there since I've been there 16 years that are pleasant. And the person I co-teach with for my special ed combined senior English class, she's awesome. She has a sense of empathy with kids and certain learning disabilities that she's familiar with and have been trained more so for, and so I learn from her.
Well, she hasn't been teaching there with you the whole time, though.
No, she's been at the school for 13 of my 16 years, but I've gotten to know her better since we started co-teaching a senior English class for like the last 5.
So it's a positive thing co-teaching with her.
Oh yeah, and for somebody who's kind of territorial usually about their stuff, always feels like they must, have some sense of control over their things. That I think benefited me to kind of cede some of that control and work with somebody else and learn from them in the classroom that you're operating at the same time.
What about your friends that have been there the whole time? They must be a positive influence.
Yes. Trying to think of the people. Yes, because when I get frustrated, even though they get frustrated as well, when I get frustrated, it's like, we try to balance each other out. I'll be like infuriated at something, and instead of just always egging you on, they're like, oh, well, and they try to bring you out of that. So, a couple of guys in my department. They also have good senses of humor. It's nice, because sometimes I take things too seriously.
So when you take things too seriously, they can make a joke about it.
Yeah, and I'm not talking like take things too seriously that are important, but take things too seriously like schedules being changed and the copier like breaking again, and they can kind of laugh it off, or not being able to get into the library when you're supposed to, and you have things that depend upon it. They're like, it's all good, sometimes things just operate that way, so they kind of, make me laugh insignificant things off when I get overly frustrated.
So it's amusing when those bad things happen and they make it amusing for you.
Yeah, they just kind of be like, meh, the nice little phrase, meh, well, you expect it to happen. Or like, something's coming up and you're planning for it, and it's always like, expect the unexpected, and ha ha ha, and then the unexpected happens. Like a fire alarm going off during your observation. You're like, of course that's going to happen. Yeah, so it's nice that they can kind of be jokey.
So, I think we still have a few minutes left. Did you expect to make long-term friends like you did?
Yeah, but one element that separates myself from a lot of the other teachers is they have families and kids and stuff, and so we don't hang out outside of school so much, which would be nice, but little people come first, and we have furry animals.
Why does them having children prevent you from hanging out with them?
Because the kids are at that age where they're in like football and baseball and basketball or cheerleading or dance, or some of them are young enough that they can't go to wherever. A couple of the people I hang out with, both they and their not hang out with because they don't go outside of school really. They have their wives are teachers as well, so that schedule, kind of. They have to split up childcare sometimes after school, and so it's just scheduling like that. Little people require like people to watch them outside of school, so that takes precedence, understandably.
Are you frustrated when that happens?
Sometimes.
Like when you want to hang out with your friends, but their little kids are involved in so many activities that they can't. They don't have time for you?
Like in homecoming or something's going on, everybody's like, hey, let's go out on Friday. We'll get appetizers or go get a drink or something, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, well, I've got to go take my daughter to cheerleading because my wife is at work until 6, and then, I got to pick up my son from basketball. I'm like, all right. So I will just hang with myself and my husband.
So it makes you sad when that happens.
Yeah, a little bit, but they have little people, and little people, like I said, need care and attention. Otherwise, it's called neglect.
Has there ever been a time recently when they just had a little party that we could have gone over to, and they could have had the kids around, but not active in the sport, just hanging around the house.
Yeah, they could have, but I don't. I don't. I don't want to hang around with little people that need attention after I get out of school, because I got 180 students that need my attention for 8 hours, and I just want to have to relax and not have to think about how you act and what you say in front of children when you're trying to just kind of like relax and reset from the day. But we did go to the graduation party for one, and there were little people around.
Sure.
And that was fine for small amounts of time. I sound witchy.
All right, that concludes our interview. Say add over to Carrie. Say bye.
Bye.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.